The RAC program is an acronym for Research on Adaptation to Climate Change. We understand that our climate is changing. We've certainly seen some of the impacts of that over the last few years with the flooding that we had in 2011 and 12, changes in temperature that we're seeing over time, and changes that we're seeing in our environment, in the lakes and rivers. And so this research on adaptation to climate change is allowing us to do some innovative new research in collaborative new ways that we wouldn't have been able to do in the past. There are basically 4 themes within the RAC program. One of those is for us to understand the dynamics that are going on with respect to the way nutrients and pollutants move around in the lake.
The project that's being run out of this lab down here at the waterfront is doing research on Missisquoi Bay. Because it's so shallow, it has been responding to climate change a lot more prevalently than the other parts of the lake. I'm looking at how phytoplankton blooms vary across the surface of the bay and the differences in species content.
I'm Thornton Ritz. I'm a senior at the University of Vermont. I'm a fisheries biology major. I'm doing a variety of health assessment internally and externally on the fish. We got a wide range of data from different parts of the ecosystem so we can really assess the impacts on Missisquoi Bay and kind of seeing if climate change is accelerating those effects and how that works with relation to all the different trophic levels.
A second part of the research has to do with how water and materials are delivered from the landscape around the lake to the lake. Interactions between the watershed and the lake, we really need to have people who can think about the hydrology, the way that water moves, people who can think about chemistry and the way that elements, pollutants, and nutrients move, people who can think about the ecology, trees and organisms, as well as people who can think about the way all of that interacts to affect communities, the human inhabitants of this environment, us. And so another major component of our research is on those human and policy and management decisions.
How do we model the influence of a landowner on a chunk of land that is different for agricultural, like urban, forest, wetland, all of those areas? Like different people have control over that piece of land.
The overarching theme for our research is to actually pull all of those pieces together into one interacting model of the entire complex systems. And that's really quite a challenge that requires the entire group to work together. The number of collaborators and the diversity of collaborators in the RAC project is really astounding. Academics, large and small NGOs, including the Lake Champlain Basin Program, colleagues at state agencies, and different community groups and watershed groups that we interact with as well.
I'm Eric Howe. I'm the technical coordinator for the Lake Champlain Basin Program. The mission of the Basin Program is to coordinate management of the lake and its watershed and the resources that we have available to do that, to achieve that goal. A part of what we do with the Basin Program is we fund monitoring on the lake, collecting water chemistry samples and collecting data real time right in the lake, measuring the amount of oxygen in the water and what the water temperature is and several other parameters. Having long-term historical data sets available, that's critical for predicting climate change and knowing what's happened in the past and helping us kind of envision what might happen in the future. We are focused on the entire watershed of Lake Champlain, so that includes not just the state of Vermont, but also New York and the province of Quebec as well. We work with federal agencies and also state and local agencies. A big part of what the Basin Program does is outreach to the stakeholder community. We make sure that our partners in our state agencies and federal agencies are all as well informed as possible.
The decision-making apparatus in Washington, D.C. needs to address this issue and address it straight on and apply the level of resource that matches the level of rhetoric that has sometimes accompanied this conversation.
In my opinion, climate change the conversation is happening at all levels of the spectrum. The local community, right on up through municipal and state government, federal government, and globally.
I do think that we can make a change. With climate change, we've already shown that humanity has such an influence now upon the natural system that we can use that to our advantage to try to undo or reverse or curb the impacts we've already had.